Sure.
Okay, with the filmmaking team of $13, we have Melissa, who is the director and also the star of the film. We have Penny, who is the writer and producer of the film. Is that correct? The
That
credits are correct there?
you
Yeah.
got it. Absolutely.
Okay, $13. Like I think you guys were mentioning, it's about 9/11, I guess, but it's more to it than that. But
Yeah.
basically, why don't we? Because it's just about two people having a conversation, but of course, it's about something more profound than that. Where you shot it, I lived in Brooklyn,
Oh, did you?
way back when I went to film school, and I know exactly where you shot it. So tell us about kind of this, who the writing and what like the idea, Penny, and kind of like coming
Sure.
up with the concept.
Well, actually, this, as with a lot of my screenplays, was originally a play, a monologue that I wrote way years ago after 9/11 happened. I was in the city and I had heard of a woman who had survived because of this donut mix up she had at Dunkin' Donuts. And the story just kind of stuck with me. And during COVID, I decided, we were all going crazy. We wanted to make films. So I wrote to Melissa. I said, how do you feel about filming this as a monologue? And I wrote it for her and she tried. And I think we both knew that there was more to it. So
Mhm.
then after COVID, Melissa and I were talking and she said, why don't we open it up to two people and we can film it, with the Manhattan skyline and have what was once, the World Trade Center and put that in the film. So we both worked on the screenplay. Megan Martin, who is the other actress in it, is also our line producer. We know really well. So we're kind of like a family, our crew. Brian Hamilton, the cinematographer, is also a really good friend. So it was very much a special family film. Now, unfortunately, when we filmed it, it was a heat wave in New York and it was about 105 degrees. And it was a tough shoot. And I really commend our crew and our actors for us getting through it because it was tough.
It's funny
Well,
what you see on. Oh, sorry, Melissa. I was just going to say it's funny what you see on film because it looks like it's a breezy because you're near the river, obviously the lake. So it looks breezy and looks cold when you're watching
Good.
it.
I'm glad you didn't see the sweat
we were
rivulets.
covered with sweat. I will say the shoot itself, other than the heat, was
It's
not
great.
difficult. It was a
Yeah, yeah,
6 hour shoot. We
yeah.
got there in the afternoon. We knew we wanted to be there for sunset. We kind of wasn't 100% in order of the script, but we started with just the walk and talk, got to the bench, and then moved to the fence for sunset. So it was kind of in order. And because we wanted to get it done that day, we didn't do a lot of takes for each
Mm.
shoot for each shot. Kind of kept it moving. A lot of trust.
Yes.
Brian and I had talked a lot about what shots I wanted. We were down there 2 or 3 times pre-production, like going over exactly what we were going to do so that I could let go of some of the control while I was in character.
Yeah.
Um, and we could keep moving. And between the crew that we had, I think we got what we needed, and it ended up better than it should have.
Actually, the sunset was a big surprise to all of us.
It was
We had
gorgeous.
no idea it was going to be that beautiful.
Yeah.
So I got an interesting question that. Oh, sorry, I got a question to ask you. Is that in the beginning of the film you just talk about you did the walk and talk and then you sit at the bench and then they have a conversation, but you have like a 3 second shot like through the chain link fence.
Hmm.
I found that interesting because it kind of. I'm curious why you chose that shot and chose to keep it in the film.
Why did I choose to keep it in the film?
Huh.
I think I liked so the shot was Brian's idea. There was a on the other side of the fence, there was a little uh, uh, ledge right there across from where we were shooting. And he's like, I'm gonna go over here and get it. And like, and it looked cool. And it set us up and kind of gave that distance from the city. I always had this, I think since I've moved to Queens, there's always been this idea of like seeing the city but not being part of it, even though Queens and Brooklyn are part of it, but it's not there
Yeah,
in the
you're
center
you're
of it.
yeah you're you're there,
and,
but you're not there at the same time.
and that like I think it did a good job of setting up that distance between us and the city and giving that establishing shot some depth that we needed. And like you said, it was only like 3 seconds, but when I was cutting it, like I went back and forth between that shot and the clean shot and ended up just using it because I
Yeah.
liked it there.
Because like subconsciously it sets a certain tone to the film, right? Because they, like you said, they're just have these people having conversation and they sit down, they talk, and then of course you get up and then your character gets up and you're telling this animated story. But it's sort of like, I just found that interesting. It was like, it's like the entrapment, or like kind of like you're still in the past. Like I'm reaching in terms of the subtext, but basically it just kind of like, I found it interesting when even the second watch I found it interesting because I
Yeah,
remembered it the first time too.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, it was a great shot and a great
It was a
idea
great
from
show.
Brian. And I I mean, a lot of when I'm editing and acting and directing, but a lot of it's just gut. And, you try different things, and at some point you're like, this is the one that feels right. And you don't know exactly what it's doing other than it's better than the other options.
yeah,
And, I think even when I'm writing, I don't know, Penny, if this is true for you, that people find meaning that I didn't know I put in, and when they bring it up to me, I'm like, oh yeah, that was on my mind, but I wasn't purposely throwing this subtext in, but because these things all connect. And I like it when people who are the viewers or the readers see those things and bring them up, because it's interesting to
Yeah,
hear
this
that.
always happens to me after I show a film or if I write a story. People will say, well, what about this line or this shot? And I think it's subconscious. I really do. And now I'm so excited about the scene. I'm going to watch the movie again and look at that, that scene again.
yeah.
Thank you for bringing it up.
So the story of this is based on a true story. The
There
person
were
kind of,
so many 9/11 near escape stories
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
like
So many. And this was one that just stuck in my mind because it was so pedestrian. Dunkin' Donuts, we all go to Dunkin' Donuts, and you never think of the Dunkin' Donuts as a place that saved your life.
yeah, no, because well the concept is $13. Like she didn't get it. Like there's
Right,
a,
right.
yeah, she goes back, and like there's so many mixed emotions, right? Like you're ecstatic that you're alive, but then there's, I'm sure there's survivor's guilt and there's mourning of the people that you lost. Like there's stories of the people that like, because it was around 9 o'clock, so people were someone slept in and then they didn't get to work on time. There, I've heard those stories.
They
Seth
stopped
MacFarlane,
at the dry cleaners. They
yeah,
they had a doctor's appointment. The subway was late. Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane, the guy from Family Guy, he missed his flight and he was supposed to be on the
Oh,
flight,
really? Huh.
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
like, yeah, and then people have different. It depends where you are, like what mindset you have too, right? Because people have different. For Seth MacFarlane, well, I don't know them personally, but he's like, it's one of those things, right? Because he doesn't have that. He doesn't want to over. But I don't know what. Maybe he personally, I don't know, maybe, but and other people are like, it probably haunts them for the rest of their lives, right? That
Yeah, yeah, it
they,
was interesting because talking about, I mean, this happened almost 25 years ago. This will be the
yeah,
25th anniversary. And I was just at a birthday party for a friend of mine, and there was a man there, he was an accountant, very nice, just talking to him. And then somebody pulled me aside and said, do you know who he is? That's the accountant who volunteered to help all the widows of the firemen who died in 9/11. So here's this man who's, an ordinary man, but is a hero to so many people. So it's
yeah.
still very resonant here in New York City.
Oh, 100%. I was up on the towers in April that year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was on
Wow.
a date. I was on a date with the person that I was, yeah, there. And then like 5 months later, I was on a movie set. I was on a TV show called Soul Food in Toronto, which was mimicking New York, which they do all the time, right? At a park, they were mimicking a park, like I think Union Square, and they had all the taxi cars and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And I was sitting there, and it was a day after my birthday, and then all of a sudden we hear the news, and so
Wow.
like, and here I am in this fake New York on a set, and then it's like, and then you hear the news. So everybody's got their, like, I guess, stories, and then that everybody's got those memories that defined our generation, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
It was about a year, 2 years after 9/11, a year and a half, I moved out to LA. And it was so interesting because for so many people that I met out there, it was so distant. It was like something that happened in another world. Whereas for New Yorkers and people that were here or in Pennsylvania near the that or in Washington, it was like I knew people. Not none of my closest friends, but there I had a dog at the time, and one of the dog owner's husbands was one of the firemen that lost his life. A friend of mine, I lived on the Upper West Side at the time. I know, Penny, you live on the Upper West Side. And I remember looking out the window and it's this beautiful blue sky, and then
Yeah.
looking at the TV and it's black. And it was what, 4 miles away. But a friend of mine was working in the towers, and I got through to him just before the phone lines went out, just after I heard about it. And he had gotten out of the building, and I'm like, if you can't get back home to New Jersey, come here. And
Hmm.
then the phone lines died. And I just literally was like, I went and got water and groceries because nobody knew what was going on. And like three
Yeah.
hours later, this dust covered person knocks at my door. And he had to walk the whole way because there was no
Oh
subway,
wow.
there was no bus,
Oh
And
anything.
yeah.
people don't know that Upper West Side from down to, like, that's a trek.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. That really is a
Um,
trick.
It's like
but
90 blocks, I guess, right?
Yeah.
more
Absolutely.
from
More.
I was at
But it depends where you live.
101st.
But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so but it's like go shower. Here's what like um and we just like sat there and watched the TV, and just it's numbing at that moment. Um and
Absolutely.
and yeah, that I think like with the the performance and like just trying to there is guilt that you survived, as well as thank God that I had that delay, and the memories of the people that pissed you off going.
Bernie, Bernie. And I think the film ends on a positive note. That's what I like about it. It's Melissa kind of laughs at a joke that Megan makes, and I feel, the when the film ends, you're hopeful. You know, I also like making films with two women who are not discussing a man. It's called the Bechdel test. And I also like different generations. Melissa's a different generation than Megan. I like mixing it up.
Yeah. So what was it called? So two women having conversation that's not about a man is called the what?
Bechdel, the Bechdel test.
The Bechdel test.
Yeah, it's right, Melissa. It's
Yeah, I forget her first name. She was a cartoonist, and then uh I don't remember, but she had this, just came out and was like, I want to see a film with a scene that has two women talking about anything other than men. And
Yeah.
like then people would start looking at films and how often there was no scenes between two women at all. And if there was a scene between two women, it was talking about their love life, the bad
Yeah.
husband,
exactly,
the bad
exactly.
father, and it there are some s- festivals that or competitions that are particularly Bechdel test oriented, that it's always interesting to make it happen because
I
it's
like
hard.
it. Yeah. You learn something new every day. No, it's good. Right? Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the making of the movie. I'm going to ask Melissa. I'll ask you a vague question. How do you direct and act in every scene at the same time?
Good question.
I so like I So, as Penny said, this was a monologue during lockdown. I was trying to film it by myself. It was going to be one of those COVID movies that people were doing. I took my phone out I live on the Queens waterfront in Long Island City. Like walked and talked just to the camera. There was some good moments in what I filmed. But and everybody was wearing masks, as we were walking around. Um, but the sound was horrible. And I'm like, if I'm gonna do this, I need to like get a lav, get a boom, have somebody. And we just kind of let put it aside. Life moved on. Um, when we talked about this, both Penny and I, and we've worked together before. You've seen My Dinner with Schwartzy, Greetings from Sarajevo, Overdue are all things that came initially from Penny's brain, that we worked on together. Um, but we were both busy with other things, but we wanted to do something. Like, what about that monologue? Let's look at that again. And Brian and his crew will work with us for the on budget, and we can do this pretty easily. And as I started looking at it and working on it, like she said, I wanted to open it up. And at first I just texted Megan, who was our line producer. I'm like, hey, do you want to be on camera, no lines, but you'll be reacting to things that I say? She's like, sure, I love face acting. And then I started working on the shooting script. I'm like, Penny, I think we need to give her some lines. Called Megan, was like, hey, do you want to actually have some lunch? She's like, sure, whatever you need me for. And I've acted with Megan before in a theater piece, and we were in a group together for a while. So I knew that she could handle it and would be very good at it. And as we started working on the script, it grew and there was more of the conversation, and more about the relationship. And at that point, I said to Penny, I think that we should replace me. I think I should just direct. And at that point, Penny had said, but I can only hear your voice in it now. Like, I've heard your
Yeah,
voice in this
yeah.
role so much. I don't think I want anybody else to do it. I'm like, I'm not sure I can do it justice if I'm doing both things. She's like, I know you can. So with her support, I'm like, fine. And like I said, I did surround myself with people that I trusted and who were like guidelines. And Megan and I rehearsed. Brian and I went through like every shot and every moment in advance. We had a portable monitor so I could look at the framing and see what was going on. But again, it's a lot about trust. The same thing when Blood is Thicker,
Right.
which I did as well. You just have to kind of trust the people that you surround yourself with to let you know. Which with Blood is Thicker, I don't know if I had told you this. Andrea, who was my DP, who I've worked with a number of times, is also a director. And there were times that I wanted to move on, because it starts to feel indulgent when the camera's on you and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do another take. And Andrea would be like, do it again. Like,
Huh.
and I'm like, why was it bad? She's like, no, but just do it again. And this time, think about, and I'm like, thank you. And Janine, who I was working with, the same thing was like, don't rush. Like, you're not being selfish. Don't rush. Because there is, for me at least, I don't know how other actor directors are, but I'm like, let's get back to you. Like, I don't want it to be, yeah, so there is kind of, whereas if I'm just hired to act, then that's what I'm there for.
Yeah.
I'll do as many takes as you want me to. Um, but so I,
So the other actress, she does a stand up job. Like she's fantastic, and because she's kind of represents the audience in many ways.
Right.
mhm.
We're like her, but her reactions are outstanding, and you need that performance for the film to work. If that makes sense, like you really
Yes.
need.
Ooh,
Oh, that sounds like an old fashioned line.
Sorry about that.
So
Yes, you do need it. You do need it to work. And we kept building Megan's lines. Like I kept thinking, you know what? She's not saying enough here. She's not saying enough here. And then Melissa and I would work on the screenplay. And what I love about Megan's performance particularly is the way she listens to Melissa.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
weird. A lot of actors don't know how to listen to other actors on screen. And
mm,
Megan's just, she's not saying a word, but you can see so much going on in her eyes.
100%. Like she has
mm,
an arc. Like just for her
yes.
listening and not if even if she doesn't say a line, her character has an arc. Like
hmm
she's a diff she's a different person after this story.
Without a
Yep.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that she would be great for that. Like I said, I've seen her work. I've worked with her. Um, she's a great line producer. If anybody is
Yes.
looking to hire a line producer, she's outstanding, but she's also a wonderful actress. She's writing her own stuff now too. We'll be seeing more of her.
So she's kind of perfectly cast too, because we're watching this from the 2025 lens or 2026
Right.
lens. So
Hmm.
she seems like she would be a child, right?
Yeah,
When that happens. So so that's her generation perspective when you're telling
yeah,
this story, right? Like you and I, we're all the three of us were telling our stories when we
Hmm.
were young
Yeah.
adults, right? And then, but she's different. She's a child, right? She knows about it, but she probably doesn't have an emotional context like we do, I guess, right?
right.
Right.
Well, that generation has never taken a flight without TSA. Like,
You know,
remember,
Yeah.
we
that's a
used to
good
be able to
point.
go to
That's
the
you're
gate
right.
to pick
Yeah.
people up. Um, like they've taken off their shoes for every flight they've ever taken. It's a different world.
And
Um,
I also want to point out there is a third character in this film, and that's New York City.
Yeah.
Because I think the shots that our cinematographer did of the city are breathtaking. And I
Yeah.
find it's my kind of love story to my home when I was writing it, and it was visualized that way. And we were so lucky to have a beautiful day. I mean, I can't imagine if it
other
was
than the
raining,
heat.
but the heat. But it's New York City is like another character.
But that said, you're not in New York City, right? Or you're not in Manhattan when you're
Yeah.
No.
filming. You're
Oh,
looking at
well,
Manhattan.
but we were shooting over into
No,
Manhattan.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But you
that
have
that I think that was important, that distance from it, that it was there looming. Like that was the word
Absolutely.
that I wanted. Um,
yeah, and you got the helicopter, sorry, the helicopter, the airplane sea shot too, right?
Yeah,
That you
that was
grabbed.
lucky.
well,
Right.
no, I had told Brian to keep an eye out for planes, and anytime he saw one, to get it. And there was one we were at that moment. I'm like, ah, there, I go. But there was a few plane shots that he got because I definitely.
Have you guys ever thought about like doing kind of like a short, like having more of these stories about these 9/11 stories and kind of making it into one like one big play or one like big feature film where you have different stories of like
That's interesting, but I wonder if it's 25 years ago how interested people are in it,
I
because there's
think
so
they
much.
are. I think that
Oh, that's
because
a
it's
great
coming.
idea. That's a great idea. My 33-year-old daughter, I was just talking to her. She doesn't remember much about it. I said, "What do you
Exactly.
remember about it?" She goes, "Oh, I went on a sleepover and we had a fun time." That's all she remembers.
Yeah.
Because, we went to someone's apartment and all the parents were there and we all were drinking vodka because we thought it was the end of the world. And she remembers it was a fun time. But that's an idea. Thank you. Thank you for suggesting
Because
that.
it's sort of the analogy I'll give is that I wanted to know about Vietnam, even though the
Hmm.
Vietnam War, even though I wasn't even born when it started, right, or ended. So
Well, and then if you think about like when most of those Vietnam War movies came out, it was
yeah,
the 80s, about 20,
Yeah.
25 years after.
yeah, that's what's going to happen with COVID. We're going to see there's going to be in 5 6 years there's going to be tons of COVID movies coming
I
out.
don't want to see a
I feel
COVID
like it's still
movie.
over.
That's the point is that people still don't want to talk about it or don't want to see a movie about it, and that's why I've talked to other filmmakers where like even documentary filmmakers where they've scrapped projects. They
Hmm.
scrap their projects because they know that nobody wants to see this. And
Yeah.
but then 5 years now, there's more perspective, I guess, right?
20. Give it 20.
20, yeah.
Yeah,
So that's the point I'm
I
making
think
with
you're
nine
right. I
eleven.
think
Right?
it's 9/11 is
Yeah,
right. It's the
yeah,
25th
25 years
anniversary.
is a long time. Yeah.
yeah.
There's people who grew up post that, just like you said with Vietnam. It's like, oh, yeah, it's time to look back.
And what's
No, but
interesting? Sorry.
there's also I was going to say there's also the tragic stories of somebody who like shouldn't have been there,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Was never been to the building before ever, except that one day they happened to be at the building, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And think about 9/25. That was probably the last time I remember our country was really united.
yeah,
Nobody cared what political party you were in. Everybody was helping everybody out.
yeah. I think Bush had a 90% approval rating when he threw out the first pitch of the World Series. He had a
Yeah.
90% approval rating that year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when you're saving someone, you don't care what their
Isn't
political
that
party.
crazy?
Yeah, we were
Like,
all together, and the
yeah.
countries loved us. I remember all these countries would send, cards to my daughter's classroom. Yeah, I mean, yep.
And what a difference a year makes.
Yeah. And then you also have you have your 250th anniversary this year too, right? The United States.
Yeah, even though a lot of people don't feel
Maybe.
like celebrating.
Yeah.
We'll see where we are at that point,
Yeah. Well, it's the best of times, the worst of times, right? So
Yeah, and you're in Canada, so you're a nice distance away.
yeah, you guys don't like us now, so
Oh, I love
basically,
the
We do.
Canadians.
We would like to join you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I
no, but
love.
it's
Anybody who's watching this who is part of the 30% that's still happy.
yeah, no, if you told me that I'm from Niagara Falls, so if you told me that that Americans and Canadians would be in some sort of fight or I would think you're crazy. I never thought in a million years it would happen. So,
It's not Americans. It's one person. It's not.
well, you
And,
elected him,
and
right? I'm not saying you, but I'm saying he was elected, right? But over 50% of the population elected him, right? So,
no, uh, because it was something like 33% voted for him, 32% voted for Kamala, and 35% didn't vote at all.
Yeah.
well, they should vote.
No
That's all I
shit.
got to say.
That's why Hungary has finally turned the corner.
I am
There's a yeah.
so happy about Hungary. My grandfather was Hungarian. This is so wonderful.
Well, my father-in-law is Hungarian, so Jewish Hungarian. So
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's
me.
a
Yeah.
big deal. Yeah, he came over when he was during the when he was 4 during the yeah. So he's lucky to be alive.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
his parents are Holocaust survivors as well. So basically, yeah. So he's very happy as well. So it's a miracle that we're alive, kind of thing. So
That's true.
now he
That's
has
true.
grandkids. So
Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful.
so okay, so talk about so then in terms of the so you're in every scene, you did the monologue. So you have trust in your cinematographer. Lots of like I see a lot of handheld camera. Like did you I guess what you do is that you kind of shoot, you kind of like map out the entire day with your cinematographer, kind of
Mhm.
know you do the two shots and then so you kind of know exactly what you're doing, I guess, right? On the day. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
trust them to know when to move on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of being in it, knowing whether we went up on lines or
Yeah. Sure, of course.
or there
Yeah.
was a noise issue or whatever. But yeah, if they got it, the sound got it, and I'm happy with what I see Megan doing, or I'm happy with my what I'm doing it. I mean, I had a good AD. Avery was
Avery
great.
was great.
I had Penny was on set, Tracy was on set, Maria, like the people as well as Brian, that it was a very small crew. I think there was
Yeah.
10 of us, less
Five,
than 10 of us,
7.
7, 8. But there was a kind of sense of, yeah, we got it, let's move on. Sometimes it was, hey, the sun's moving, let's do this.
Yeah.
The last couple of shots, it was dark.
Yeah, it was
So
dark.
Penny, you were there. You were on set as
Oh, of
well.
course I was there. Absolutely. I was
Penny's
there.
always on set when we shoot.
Now, I want to point out Melissa edited this film as well. So
Okay.
not only was she directing and acting, she edited it. And I want to make a shout out to Lewis, who has done the score for all of us.
Yeah. It's a good
Um,
sound design as well. So
Lewis
do you
wrote,
guys always you like Melissa? You always are. You both of you always work with the same crew or try to work with the same
there's
crew?
been a number of people that we've been working with. Like Lou did score for this, Blood is Sicker, Greetings from Sarajevo, Overdue. And Andrew has done the sound design for Overdue was the first one we worked with him, I think, and Blood is Sicker and uh I may have done one other, I don't remember. Brian, the one inconsistent thing has been color. I've used a different colorist on every project for just usually budget things. But Brian, who was the cinematographer, actually did the color on this and he did a great job.
you did.
Um, Molly Gazet, we used two of her songs for the beginning and the end. I had used a song of hers on a film that I directed and edited without Penny, called Her Turn. I don't know if the producer uh, writer ever submitted it to you guys or not. But I knew that Molly had a great song collection. Um, Megan, I've has been my line producer since Overdue. Like, there's been a lot of consistency as far as that goes.
That's amazing. And you guys are all based in New York, and
Yep, we're all based in New York. And again, I think
Oh,
trust.
Brian, our cinematographer, was the waiter in my dinner with Schwartzy.
Oh, he was. That's right. And we had to go get him a new shirt in the middle of shooting. I remember that. But I just want to point out about trust is so important in a film crew. You are
sure,
a family, for maybe 8 hours or be it a month, but you really have to trust everyone. And
Yeah.
Melissa, people love working with Melissa. This is what really helps. They are willing to work for free sometimes
yeah.
just to work with Melissa.
Well, it is a kind of a hierarchy system, and everybody has to believe in the director's vision. And if they don't, then there's the trust goes away. So them keep working with you guys, like that tells me something that there's absolute trust right there because
Well,
they believe.
even I would say between Penny and I,
Yeah,
like I've worked with writers that um get super precious about every word on the page and
yeah.
want to control it. I'm like, why don't you direct? But and whether I like reading some Sarajevo, Penny wrote, I did not touch the script. I just, came up with the shooting script and it's her baby, but like Overdue, Schwartzy, and this, when it came to the screenplay, she trusted me to co-write the screenplay based on her work.
Mhm.
And going back and forth and being able to find the things that we are agree on, the things we can compromise on, the things that like I I, I love working with her because she's so hope you're not getting embarrassed, but
No,
she's
I'm
so
blushing here.
creative.
I'm blushing here.
She's got so many stories she's a novelist. She writes short stories, she writes poems, she writes plays, and taking her already formed stories and turning them into screenplays is just fun. Um,
Yeah,
So
great representation.
what's your the two of you's origin story? How did you guys meet? Where did you meet?
Melissa directed a play
Theater.
of mine at a theater company called New York Madness, right? Or
Was
no,
that the
Planet Connection. We met at Planet Connections, but you didn't direct a play of mine until New York
no?
Madness.
But I think before Madness, we did the adaptation of LA
Oh, my
Child
short
play.
stories.
I don't know which came first. I thought LA Child and other
Yeah.
stories came.
So there's a theater downtown called Dixon Place, and they had contacted me about my short stories, asking if I could dramatize them. And to me, that was a real challenge. How do I dramatize these short stories? So I asked Melissa to help me adapting them. And we had terrific actors. And one of the stories was My Dinner with Schwartzy. And Melissa said to me, this would make a really good short film. It was during when
You,
Harvey
you,
Weinstein was breaking out.
well, so I'll just fine tune that.
Sure.
I had done Show and Tell Tango, my first film, and was just starting on the festival circuit. And Penny and I had done these two plays together, and we had lunch. And she's mentioned that she wanted to do a film, but always got stuck with the screenplay being a playwright, trying to adapt it to visual. And we kind of went back and forth on some of her plays, and then I was like, what about Schwartzy? It's so timely because Weinstein had
Yeah.
just been arrested or accused. And like when we decided on like as soon as I said it, it was an aha moment. And we both were like, yeah, that's the one. And it was super fun. The story itself is um a memory piece. It's
Yeah.
the adult Fiona looking back at that night years ago and to make it present tense from her point of view, putting it in there. That's where the screenplay came out of it. And some of the songs, the two songs that Fiona sings in that were because I loved Penny's writing so much, but it was all expositional. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how do I put these words into the screenplay?
Yeah.
And we wanted, like, it wasn't in the original short story that she was a singer or a wannabe. She just was remembering this night. I'm like, what if the reason she's with Schwartzy is he promises to make her a star, and she has this fantasy of singing at the club, and that's where all of that, like, but like the way that we bounce off of each other and find these ideas is so much fun.
Yeah, I love working with Melissa. It's just a blast because, we'll go over the script line by line and sometimes we stop and we might have a disagreement
Yeah.
and then we talk about it and, we'll either make a compromise or delete. But yeah, it's a very fruitful, fun, and creative beyond belief collaboration.
Yeah.
Do you know how many projects you guys are working on, have worked on to date?
To
Um,
date,
four,
Or, okay.
film, well,
Greetings from Sarajevo. First one is short C, Greetings from
Greetings from Sarajevo.
Sarajevo, Overdue, and then $13. That's four, right?
Plus with Overdue, we did the
Oh,
music
the
video
music video.
Down
Yeah.
and Out. And you were a producer on Blood is Sicker. Um, and we've done 3 theater projects together. 4.
Oh,
And this is going back a long way, maybe
yeah,
2012. Yeah.
that's amazing. And I
Yeah.
was looking at you. You have so you are you have the then you write short stories. You have the book, My Daughter's Boyfriends,
Yes,
which is
my
a
daughter's
great title.
boyfriend. Yeah, you should read that story.
I
People, yeah,
should,
it
because
won an award.
the
Yeah, it won.
title alone is like has grabbed me because my daughter is going to be 10, and I know it's going to happen
Doesn't,
soon. So
Tom
yeah,
doesn't have boyfriends yet, but as my daughter insists when we had a reading of this, that the story was not about her. And I think I made sure in the introduction that it was actually based more on my memory of my high school boyfriends than hers. But it's a very moving stories. I had a lot of people, I don't want to tell you, read the story and then see, but I had a lot of people
yeah.
write to me about that short story.
Is that going to be made into a movie one day?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. You never know, right? You never
Yeah.
know.
No, I did. I don't even know the story, but I
Yeah,
just like the title. I like the concept. It's a nice concept because
it could.
it's
I think even though it's a short story, Penny, I think it might, if you adapted it, it might have to be a feature to
yeah,
Yeah,
get
it
me.
would. Yeah, because it really go. I mean, you have lots of boyfriends and their stories. But yeah, I mean, a lot of features are first short narratives,
Yeah.
and and then they get developed. But
Mhm.
as you know, women directors are having a tough, always are having a tough time. Women screenwriter. I mean, everyone in the film business right now is having a very tough moment right now.
Yeah, yeah. But
So
there,
thank you for keeping indie film alive,
Yes, we
all
really
of your
appreciate it.
festivals.
I'm trying to. Yeah, it's yeah. This is a tough time right now, and yeah, for many reasons. But it's because everybody's trying to survive and make a living at the same time, right?
And
So
terrified of AI.
yeah, it's funny because we just did I did a conference with a bunch of like there's this thing called Film Alliance, Film
Uh-huh.
Festival Alliance, where like the festivals kind of like legitimizes you as a festival, and there's a big conference call, but with like maybe like 50 festivals were on the conference call, and I brought it up, unfortunately, and it just became this wave of conversation about AI, right? It's like a third of the festival directors are scared of it, and they don't want nothing to do with. Those are my words, not theirs. They don't want nothing to do with it. They're like 100% against it, and then the third of them are like pro technology, and they're like, yeah, we this is part of society. This is where we are as a species. We have to keep moving forward, right? And then other third, it's like myself, probably it's like on the fence, doesn't really know, right? So where I stand. So
I a couple years ago, I think it was 2 years ago. I won't name names or anything, but I Blood is Thicker was in a festival, and our block, it started with 4 short AI generated films. They were
Wow.
all under 5 minutes.
Wow.
yeah.
And I was appalled to be included.
Oh yeah.
I was not happy. But they were, there was something that was just that uncanny valley thing, like just weird about all four of them. I've seen AI stuff since then. It's getting better, but it's still weird.
Yeah. And then yeah, that's like you can still tell, I guess, right? But it's most of them are not good.
Yeah,
Right? So
but
like I don't know,
animation,
90%. 90% of the AI films are not good,
no, they're
right? So
terrible.
Well, and
yeah.
then you get into like the verticals, which 99% are not particularly good either.
Mm,
That was brought up too, vertical films as well. But it's like that's the future. Like where you can't I could never shy I can't shy away from what even if I don't like it, you can't shy away what the future is, right? So
exactly.
so
I think that with verticals, because the mandate is addictability and keeping them so that people pay for the next episode and the next,
sure.
and it's also very on the nose kind of writing and acting. There's, talking about subtext, there's no room for subtext in that.
Yeah.
If like I'm not opposed to shooting something vertically and having it on your phone or your tablet or whatever, but I am opposed to things being geared towards kindergarten if you're not a kindergartner.
Yeah. No,
Like,
no, yeah.
I do
it's
not.
great if you're doing Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers. Your audience is.
But that's what's happening in the industry, right? Because the
Yeah,
generation behind us is not they're watching videos on TikTok and Instagram, right? That's what they're
absolutely.
and so with that I can't blame them for having this crazy technological device happen in there when they're 6 and 7 years old and whatever age they are, and they had nobody knew what it was, and
Mhm.
parents looked at it as like a good that's a good babysitting tool, right?
Yep, yep.
Hey.
So
Yeah,
it's like I can't blame them for what their entertainment interests are,
Mhm.
right? So because that's just the way the world worked, right? So we'll see what happens though. But that said, people want good stories. In the end, I'm an idealist, and I believe it too because it's like the stronger story will always prevail. It always does. So
absolutely.
yeah,
And of course, I go to a lot of film festivals,
yeah,
and I always think the same thing: this film is too long.
yeah.
And one thing which I'm very proud of saying is I don't think we've ever made a film that was too long.
I can say that you have it because
Yeah,
that's the number one. It's the two things that because we give like feedback on people films that we don't accept. And the two big things are the film's too long and the sound design. Those are the two
exactly.
the two main sticking points. And if you don't have a good sound design, the film can't be shown. And then a lot of times there's repeated story beats,
Yeah.
and you're repeating the same beat that you already did 2 minutes before. So why is it in the film?
I know.
Yeah.
I think my training as a playwright has really helped me with exposition because I find a lot of films have too much exposition, and I've
Yeah,
learned to write dialogue that doesn't rely on exposition, and also the camera, as Melissa pointed out, can do the exposition for you.
yeah. Like this in your film as an analogy, this is a great test for like even film schools to watch your even a film about because I brought the reaction of the other character, right?
Right.
She has a story arc by not really saying anything. It's just
Mhm.
how she's responding and listening to the monologue, right? So,
Mhm. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you gave her that in the editing, Melissa. You gave her that moment in the editing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I try. Same thing with Blood is Sicker. I'm always like, can I go to the other person? I think that's is this my moment or is it like I try and find their moments more, especially in something like this where it's basically a monologue. It's like I want to know how it's affecting somebody.
Right. Right.
I had this conversation with somebody whose film I was editing at some point, or maybe it was when I was teaching, but the using this film as an example, my performance becomes more effective because the audience sees how it's affecting the person I'm talking to, not because you're staying on my face and me emoting, but because I'm affecting somebody. And if you can cut to somebody's reaction and it's real and true and it moves the story forward, you're in a much better place.
100%.
Absolutely.
On that note, guys, thank you so much for your conversation. You guys are great,
Thank
and
you. Thank you so
I'm
much.
assuming I'm assuming you're making films more. Keep making movies.
We're gonna
And
try.
We're going to try. Do our best.
I threw that idea out, but I just
I
That's a
like
good
it.
idea.
I
I'll,
like
I'll leave
it.
that one with Penny.
All
because
right.
I love those movies where like it's like they have like the 5 minute short stories that they're all thematically tied, and then in the end they're all kind of one story. But even though then you can get different actors and different directors and different whatever, right? So I don't know.
Oh, thank you for
We
the
need more
idea.
of those. We
Thank
need
you.
more of those movies, I think, right? So they're always good.
Yes.
Well, we love Wild Sound. We are
Thank you
always
so
thrilled to
much.
be part of your festival. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's talk again soon when you guys make your next film.
Absolutely. Have a good
We will.
summer.
Take
Thank you.
care. Bye.
Okay. Take care. Bye.